where various human rights are highlighted and enshrined. But to the Western people, we can say that human rights is a new concept to them. And human rights as a concept in the West was given birth to in 1948 through
As we seem to be having issues with speaker's network, Imam Abdul, please, I think you can continue, sir, on his behalf.
I understand that we have Imam and on the call, so he has actually been penciled down as a plan B. So since we have him on the call, except he also has a network challenge, then I'll come on board. So we can connect.
Okay. Dr. Bagnos, please continue, sir. It seems network isn't totally friendly today. But let's see. Okay. We can't seem to hear you, sir. So if Imam Usman Animashan is online, as Imam Abdul Raji has mentioned, please, sir, we would appreciate if you would take over the lecture, Human Rights in Islam and the West.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, okay, I think you're back, sir. Walaikum salam wa barakatuh, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa barakatuh, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Allah. Of human rights is not alien to Islam, although it can trace the Declaration of Human Rights to 1948, when the United Nations declared rights as being what every human being must enjoy by default. And this human rights in the Western world came about after the two World War One and the World War II. It also came after when slavery was civilization of most African countries, and human rights in the West was achieved only after struggle. It's clear that all human beings are born free and equal. This realization only came to them in the West in the 1940s. Precisely in 1948. But for us in Islam, the concept had been there right from the various verses of the Quran, as well as many traditions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. The quote, which I just made reference to, so according to the United Nations, that says all human beings are born free and equal. It is ironical that this realization had been
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm sure that we all appreciate the fact that Dr. Bedmos has put so much effort into preparing for today's lecture. But it looks like we are faced with challenge of technology. We appreciate his gesture. We appreciate the time he's invested into preparing for today. We would look for a better opportunity to have him sit with us face to face in the near future. I'm going to invite Imam and Masha to please continue with the program for the benefit of our listeners and viewers across all platforms. Imam Alagunju, could you please help me private chat Imam Badmos that we appreciate his effort, but we have to let the program fly and overcome the barrier of technology as he's facing at the moment. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Once again, Ramadan Kareem to all of us, and we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has made it easy for us to fast the first 20 days of the month of Ramadan. We also make the remaining days easy for us to fast, and also make us attain the purpose of fasting in Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan, which is attaining piety, taqwa. Talking about the issue of human rights in Islam as compared to the West, it is important to note that Islam and the West continue to enjoy a sort of comparison between them in terms of what we have in Islam and what the West has to offer. And we all know that when we talk about the West, we are specifically talking about some countries in the world, as against other parts of the world where we have the religion of Islam. The religion of Islam is not limited by geographical space. And it is also important for us to note that when we talk about the West, we should not also limit it to geographical space. In that the West has its own ideology, its own ways of doing things, its own ways of view, perspectives about life. And the religion of Islam as a religion is an all-encompassing religion, an all-encompassing way of life. We are everything that we do has been moderated, has been guided, has been and the West is the issue of human rights. As it has been said by our guest lecturer, the issue of human rights is something in the West is something that is not. If we look at the history of human rights in the West, we can only confirm from world history that human rights started in 1948. And if you compare this with Islam, as it has also been mentioned by our guest lecturer, Dr. Badmus, you find that human rights have always been part of the religion of Islam. And that's why if you look at the Quran, we see that there are so many aspects of this book of Allah, which states that the rights of human beings must not be toyed with. And we can look at these basic human rights as recognized by the Quran and the Hadith. Let us have a look at some of them. The most primary right of human beings is the right to live and respect human dignity. And this is a basic human right recognized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Quran verse, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whosoever kills a human being without any reasonable or justifiable cause, manslaughter or corruption on earth, it is as though he had killed all mankind. من قتل مؤمنا فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. Every life of every human being is sacrosanct. It must not be taken in any way. And this is one of the things that we have been taught in the religion of Islam. This has been there since not only. It's also important for us to know that we are talking about Islam. We are not referring to the advent or the when Prophet Muhammad was raised as a prophet. Islam has been a religion that has been there ever since the coming to the earth of the first human being, Adam. Prophet Adam was a Muslim and he lived the life of Islam. And it is from the happenings, what happened during his lifetime, what happened during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Adam والسلام, was an attestation to the fact that human lives are sacrosanct and must not be taken in any way. We look at the episode of Adam's children, Qabil and Habil, where one of them took the life of the other, of his brother, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that part of the Quran says that because of that, in chapter 5 of the Holy Quran, verse 32, من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لا مسرفون. This portion of the Quran in chapter 5 verse 32, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is based on this, on the account of this, we have ordained for the children of Israel, and by extension for all human beings, that if anyone slew a person, unless it be for murder or for spreading mischief in the land, it will be as if he slew the whole people. And if anyone saved the life, it will be as if he saved the life of the whole people. Then although there came to them our messengers with clear signs, yet even after that, many of them continued to commit excesses in the land. This portion of the Quran was revealed. This injunction was made. This instruction this commandment, this law, if I say, was made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of what happened between the two children of Prophet Adam. So we are talking about the religion of Islam. Islam predates the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So every human being's life is valuable, and everyone's life should be protected, irrespective of nationality, race, age, color. This is the provision as given by the religion of Islam, and as we can find it specifically in the Quran. And it is important for us to note that in the West, we have some countries whereby the races of others or the color of others are not make them to be second citizens. Their lives are not seen as being equal to the lives of others. So we have the white supremacy issue, and we have, and if not for that, we won't have the issues of where we have a black lives matter too. So, but in the religion of Islam, the life of human beings should be protected, irrespective of nationality, race, age, or color. The Quran and Hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly and categorically laid down that whosoever hurts any human being, or infringes his right, is a sinner and has committed the most serious and sinful act, and will be punished on the day of judgment for all his wrongdoings. This has been there since day immemorial, since it has been there before the West now came up in 1948 about human rights. Another basic human right is that of the right to freedom, and it comes to the category of basic rights. Islam has forbidden the act of capturing a free man and then making him a slave or selling him for slavery. We all know that during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Jahiliyyah period, a period shortly before the raising of Muhammad as a messenger of Allah, they indulge in human trafficking. They enslave any free man, and they transfer these slaves to different regions. And we all know that even in the West, the Western countries, they are guilty of this. They come to Africa and some other continents that they see as lower than them in status, pick people who are freeborn and enslave them. This is something that Islam categorically forbids, and it is called an act of is an inhumane act. And Islam, in response to this, teaches the spreading of peace and the love of brotherhood by his teachings. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there are three categories of people against whom I shall myself be plenty on the day of judgment. Amongst them is one who enslaves a free man. Today, one of the challenges we have in the world is security. One of the challenges we have is security. And the right to security is another right that comes into the category of basic rights. Allah laid down in the Quran, and whoever saves a life, it is as he has saved the lives of all mankind, just as we have mentioned before. Security of life, security of property are things that Islam does not joke with. and it is a basic human right. In fact, in the world over, it is a basic responsibility of any good government. Provision of security of life and property is a basic duty for the government to do for his citizens. But today we have insecurity of life and property all over the world, and you can see that Islam talks about security. Islam has thrived in areas where we have security, where we have safety of life and property. We can see that in Islamic history, Islam teaches that the interests of human beings, any person, whatever, irrespective of his nationality, race, caste, or color, is man must not be wounded. He must not be he must not be related with in a manner that will put his security or safety in jeopardy. You can also look at another basic right of human beings, which is the freedom of religion. You see that even in Islam, we are told that in the region of we are taught in Islam that the only religion accepted by Allah in the deen inda Allahi al-Islam. وَمَنِ ابْتَغَى غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. The only religion accepted by Allah is the religion of Islam. And whosoever takes any religion other than the religion of Islam, Allah will not accept it from him. And on the day of judgment, that person who has taken another God beside Allah, who has taken another religion beside Islam, will such a person will be one of the losers on the day of judgment. But irrespective of this, Allah, the religion of Islam, also protects the religion of others, recognizes the religion of others. That, well, it may not be the religion of Allah, but again, if that is what you have taken, you have chosen as your own way to worship God, then so be it. Islam will not prosecute you. And that is why when Prophet Muhammad SAW got to Medina, he gave freedom of religion to the Jews. They were doing their religion. He did not force them to come into the religion of Islam. And despite facing difficulties everywhere, the Prophet did not stop. And the irony is that he spread Islam only by his teachings and by his calm behavior and by his character, not by any kind of violence. During the initial times of his preaching, Allah laid down in the Quran that, "O Muhammad, say these believers, I don't worship what you worship, nor are you worshippers of what I worship, nor will be a worshipper of what you worship, nor will you be worshippers of what I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion." The religion of Islam accepts diversity, accepts variations, accepts variety in the way we think, in the way we do things. And the Quran says that وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَجَعَلَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. If Allah so desires, He would have made every human being in the same way. They will have the same thinking. We will have the same orientation to things. We have the same religion. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that he doesn't want, he did not do that. He gave us our own free thinking. He gave us the power to choose what we want. But he also added that whatever you choose, whatever your choice that you have made, you will be responsible for the choices that you have made. And so in Surah Al-Kafirun, it explains this, that there is religion, there is freedom for worship, there is freedom for religion. You can choose the religion you want. Muslims can preach, can teach their religion, but there is no compulsion. What we have in the West, basic human rights continue to be an elusive thing in some parts of the world. The Surah Al-Kafirun that we have mentioned indicate that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't use force and didn't allow his Sahabas to force anyone to accept the religion of Islam. On the occasion of the conquest of Mecca, we can also see this. The Muslims had full authority to avenge the injustice done to them in the past. But Muhammad has been guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He declared that today is a day of forgiveness and everyone will be forgiven. And the oppression that went with them in the past should be ignored. That is the beauty of our own religion of Islam. And people then, by seeing this attitude of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Muslims, thousands of Muslims, when during the conquest of Mecca, Fatih of Mecca, the non-believer, the disbelievers in Mecca, when they saw this attitude of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his followers, thousands of people joined the religion. And yes, this is an attitude of the religion of Islam towards human rights. Another human rights, a very basic one, is that of for women. Islam recognizes that women should also be accorded their rights. Under Islamic jurisprudence, women have a right to own property and business. Women have a right to get shares from their father's property, and after marriage, shares from their husband's property. Allah chapter 4 that all these how to share inheritance, the estate left over by a deceased. You can see that in chapter 4 of the Holy Quran. Allah also laid down in Quran that women are garments of men, and also men are garments. In other words, we are to treat each other in with equity. Yes, there are some differences, but again, in the sight of Allah, we are all equal. Wa nafsin wa masawaha, fa'alhamaha fujuraha wa taqiwaha. The importance given to a male is the same given to a female, and that is where in the Quran we have when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in chapter 33 of the Quran, when he was mentioning in al-Muslimin wal-Muslimat wal-Mu'minin wal-Mu'minat, he was mentioning female Muslims, male Muslims, male believers, female believers, up to those that are zakirin Allah wa zakirin Allah kathira wa zakirat. A'adallahu lahum maghfiratan wa ajran azima. Irrespective of your gender, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you of what you have done. It is we human beings that will look at gender in rewarding people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes beyond that because He is our creator. Before marriage, a father has a responsibility to maintain his daughter. That is also looking at the rights of the female individual. As a daughter, she must be well taken care of. And after marriage, she must also be taken care of by the husband. The husband has a responsibility to maintain his wife properly. And if you deny doing so, it is considered the most serious and sinful act in the sight of Allah, in the face of Islam. Today in the West, women are objects of enjoyment, and we cannot compare the way Islam sees a woman with that the way the woman is seen in other civilizations or other cultures. We talk about the woman inheriting our husband or our father as one of those things we have in the Islamic inheritance system of inheritance. But in some cultures, in some civilizations, the woman is as part of the estate to be inherited. And that's where we see that Islam is distinct compared to what we have, what we know in the religion of Islam. Islam is a complete way of life, and we continue to learn, to enjoy the beauty of Islam in terms of what the religion teaches us and what other cultures or other civilizations are propagating or are telling us. So compare Islam and the Western cultures. Islam is clearly a way that, and it's also important to also mention, as I've alluded to at the beginning of my presentation, that when we are talking about Islam is not related to geographical location. Islam is a religion or a way of life that we see all across. And same thing is also something that we will see in the Western ideology and Western, looking at the way Islam views education, for instance. Islam sees education as a lifelong affair, not making or laying emphasis on certification, on certificates, which is what we have in some civilizations. Islam also, one other rights that Islam also teaches is the right to justice. The Quran puts great emphasis on the right to seek justice and the duty to do justice. In the context of justice, the Quran uses two concepts, and these are al-adlu and al-ihsan. Both are enjoined and both are related to the idea of balance, but they are not identical in meaning. Adli is defined as something to be equal, neither more nor less, and it has been described in similar times by Abul Kalam Azad, as a famous translator of the Quran and internet writer, who stated that what is justice but the avoiding of excess. Recognizing individual merits is a part of adli. It's a part of adli, justice. The Quran teaches that merit is not determined by lineage, sex, wealth, worldly success, or religion, but by righteousness, which consists of both belief, iman, and just action, amal. Just action, good actions. You see that a recurring decimal, a recurring expression in the Quran is wal a'malu solihat, good actions. And this is one of these things those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us in the Quran. Further, the Quran distinguishes between passive believers and those who strive in the cause of God, pointing out that though all believers are promised good by God, the latter will be exalted above the former. Justice is something that is very, very important in the view of when we are talking about Islam, basic rights, human rights in the region of Islam. Now again, we can look at the right to acquire knowledge. It is a basic human right for all, irrespective of your gender, of your color, of your race. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that al-ilmu, talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin. That the search and acquisition for knowledge is obligatory on all Muslims. All Muslims, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of what you, irrespective of your color, your culture, and you find out that this has been practicalized. You can see this in practice during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They do not reserve. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not. He was an Arab, and he did not reserve any form, any portion, any part of knowledge for the Arabs alone. He did not take as important the Arabs and more than those that are non-Arabs. And he is reported to have always said that La farqa bain al-Arabi wal ajam. There is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab. What is most important is your faith in Allah. And that we can also see in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The best amongst you, the most honored person in the sight of Allah is atqakum, the person that has piety, has faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The better your faith in Allah, the more pious you are in the sight of Allah, the better individual you are in the sight of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you as important. So whether you are black or you are white is nothing to write about. The Quran also respects Islam also respects the right to privacy. The Quran recognizes the need for privacy as a human right and lays down rules for protecting an individual's lives in the home from undue intrusion from within or without. And that's why the Quran describes three periods in which he described these periods Thalathu awratin lakum, periods of nudity, when people are not expected to bang into you anyhow. People are expected to take permission before coming into your abode, into your private abode. And in chapter 24, verse 58, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu liyasta'dhinukum alladhina malakati aymanukum walladhina lam yablughul hulma minkum thalatha marratin min qabli sholati al-fajri wa hina tad'una thiyabakum min adh-dhahira wa min ba'di salati al-isha'i thalathu awratin lakum laysa alaykum wala alaykum junahun ba'dahunna tawafuna alaykum ba'dukum ala ba'din kadhalika yubayyinu Allahu lakum al-ayah wallahu alimun hakim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Oh, you will believe. Let those whom your right hands possess, and the children among you who have not come of age, ask your permission before they come to your presence on 3 occasions. And the 3 occasions are before morning prayer, And when you remove your clothes for the noonday heat, and after the late night prayer, after the Isha prayer, these are your 3 times of undress. Outside those times, it is not wrong for you or for them to move about attending to each other. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make clear the signs to you, for Allah is full of knowledge and wisdom. This speaks to right to privacy. And another relevant portion of the Quran that speaks to privacy, your right to privacy, is that when you go into to houses that are not yours, fasallimu ala ahliha. Look at the teaching of Islam here. You have to say taslim. You have to greet before you enter the houses that are not yours. When you're asked to come in, you come in. And when you have not been asked to enter, maybe you have been asked to tarry a while, you must tarry a while, or maybe you have not been you have been asked to go back, you go back. You don't just enter another person's house, another person's residence without permission. This is another beauty of the religion of Islam. Muslims, Islam also teaches the right to leave one's homeland under oppressive conditions. According to Quranic teaching, a Muslim's ultimate loyalty must be to God and not to any territory. To fulfill this prophetic mission, the Prophet Muhammad SAW decided to leave his place of birth, Mecca, and he migrated to Medina after those migrations to Taif. After the migration to Taif, and this event has been described as the Hijrah, which is a great historical and spiritual significance for Muslims who are called upon to move away from their place of origin if it becomes an abode of evil and oppression, where they cannot fulfill their obligations to God or establish justice. So, brothers and sisters in Islam, you can go on and on and on mentioning those aspects of human rights that we can also see in the West, but it will suffice to say that when we are talking about human rights in the religion of Islam, it has been there for a very long time. It has been there before the West woke up to say that, yes, we should also be given human rights. That is one. Secondly, another question that we should continue to answer, that as Muslims, how much do we ensure that all these rights are preserved, are given to fellow Muslims? Do we really give these rights? Do we monitor that these rights are given, and these rights that are basic in the Muslim countries and where Muslims live in our private lives? Do we ensure that we take these rights, and we ensure that all these rights are things that we make sure we are sure that these rights are not being violated? That is more important. And again, we should also ask ourselves as Muslims whether or not, how much have we been able to imbibe these rights? Because in a Muslim environment, in a Muslim society, a society that we have Muslims, we should be able to see, just like where we have when Prophet Muhammad lived in Medina, all these rights were there. Nobody was violating these rights, and if one is violating these rights, justice is being meted upon those that are violators of this right. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to make it easy for us to improve our observance of the deen, which of course includes giving these basic rights to those to fellow human beings. And one other right that we have not mentioned, because it's also equally important. Islam protects the not only human lives, but the lives of animals too. You know, in the West, we have the issue of protecting animals. I think we have a society for the prevention of cruelty to animals. This is also not alien to Islam. It has been there for long. The ensuring that we are not cruel to animals, we take care of our animals. It has been there. Even when we want to slaughter animals, the animals that we can eat, we can consume their meat. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave us a code, a way of slaughtering these animals. In one hadith, it says that in Allah katabali ihsan ala kulli shay. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it mandatory the doing of good to all. Islam, it is compulsory that we do good to everything. And waiza fatalitum, when we kill an animal or when we slaughter animal, fa'asinu likitla, fa'asinu dibha, faliyuhidda ahadukum shafrata. Before slaughtering an animal, we should ensure that the knife we want to use is well sharpened. It's well sharpened. And we must also place that animal well. We place it well before slaughtering it. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to make it easy for us to to improve our religion. I pray that this Ramadan will not be the last one. And inshallah, the next one we are going to observe will be better than this. Subhan rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sallu ala nabiyyi.
Jazakumullah khairan, sir. We sincerely appreciate you. I'm very sure if not for time, we want to hear more about the human rights, the rights in Islam in general, because I'm very sure you touched on other rights in Islam and the West, comparing it to the West. Jazakumullah khairan, sir. In summary, what you said, including what our Dr. Blamid Subhano said, he mentioned the fact that the traditions of the Prophet ﷺ have shown evidence of the concept of human rights as opposed to the newness of it in the Western world today. Considering Islam is an all-encompassing religion, everything that has to do with life has been organized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in his words. The rights of humans should not be told with, and it is said in the Quran, Surah Ma'idah verse 32, about how killing a human being without any cause is as if he has killed all of mankind, and saving the life of one human, saving the life of a person is as if he has saved all of mankind. There is nothing like white supremacy, racism, all of this bigotry in Islam. In Islam, all life should be taken care of, irrespective of race, color, religion, gender. Imam also mentioned the rights we have in Islam, the human rights we have in Islam, the right to live, the right of freedom, the right to security. Islam regards the safety of not just life, but that of property, the freedom to worship. Said in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, there is no compulsion in Islam. As much as even Allah said that Islam is we all know that Islam is the right religion to practice, but it's also said in the Quran, there is no compulsion in Islam. Also, we find in Surah Al-Kafirun, lakum dinukum waliya din. To me, is my religion, to me, is your religion. We say how Allah has made, Islam has made sure to know that, to help us know that there is no compulsion. You can practice whatever religion you want. As far as at the end of the day, we are all still going to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam recognizes women, where the Western world is seeing women rights as a new thing now. Islam has recognized women from the beginning. Women have the right to own properties and businesses. They have the right to inherit from both their fathers and their husbands. In comparison to some cultures where women are seen as part of properties to be inherited. Allah looks beyond gender to reward, and Allah considers us when it comes to rewarding. He says it as Muslimin and Muslimat, and when he called everyone, he said, "Yeah, you are not." He didn't say just women and men. I'm just men or men, although there are little differences, but in the sight of Allah, we are equal. The Imam also mentioned that the obligation to seek knowledge is compulsory on all Muslims. Every Muslim is obligated to seek knowledge, no matter how far, no matter the gender, whoever you are, it is an obligation. So the right of a Muslim is seeking knowledge. There is nothing like, because you're a girl, sit down at home for the boys to seek knowledge. In Islam, everybody has a right to education. Everybody has a right to seeking knowledge. He also mentioned that he also mentioned that in Islam, the best is those that are better, the best in sight of Allah, is those that are better in terms of iman, in terms of piety, in terms of being pious, not because they are women, men, not because they are white, black, whatever race. The best in the sight of Allah are those that are better in terms of piety. We also have the right to privacy. You don't it is taught in Islam that you knock, you ask questions before entering the person's house. And the beautiful thing he used to cap up was when he said Islam protects the rights of all creations, of animals, not just humans. That's why there's a process to killing animals in Islam. There's a process to everything, even water. Where we have climate change today, where everybody is fighting for one thing or the other, Islam has fought for it from the beginning. Jazakumullah khairan for such a knowledge-filled lecture, sir. We sincerely appreciate you. In the next 5 minutes, let's see if we have 1 or 2 questions for our Imam on the topic human rights in Islam and in the West. Anybody with questions, please drop it in the Q&A box. I'll be checking there, as well as well, you can also drop it in the chat if you want to. Whatever questions you have, please send it to us in the next 5 minutes. We are closing in the next 10-15 minutes. So please send your questions, whatever questions you have to us. And if you want to speak, well, please raise your hand if you want to speak to Jazakumullah khairan. So next 5 minutes, we have questions, comments. We have 5 minutes for that, please. Anybody on our attendees list? Anybody wants to ask a question? Please raise your hand if you have questions. If you don't want to speak, you can drop it on our Q&A, the Q&A box, or you. Okay, we have Sister Ajao right here. Please, very short, please.
The lecture is very interesting and educative and highly enlightening. But a situation whereby women have the right to do everything. What is the situation in Pakistan and in Afghanistan, where women are not allowed to go out at all? They are not allowed to go to school. They are not allowed to work. They are not allowed to do anything but to stay in the house. So what's the situation? What is Islam doing about that? Or what are we doing about that as Muslims?
Serious question, Imam, please. Imam Anima Shamsa, please.
Yes, thank you, our mother, Ajia Rikiat Ajawo. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge and understanding, and also be with you. The issue of what is happening in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and in fact some other parts of the world, where we have Muslim as majority in population, we need to differentiate between what Islam teaches and what individual people do. We cannot ask the question about that the Muslims over there, what are they doing? We all know what Islam teaches, and we know what is good, what is right, but we cannot compel people to do what they do not want to do. So in those countries, they are doing what is in violation of the provisions of the Islamic teachings. And we continue to talk about it. We continue to sensitize people about the right things to do. I think it is beyond our area of or circle of influence to make sure that such countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan do what Islam. It's not only about violation of women, the rights of women. We also have another part of the world where Muslims are, where they do things that are not in consonance or in conformity with what the religion of Islam teaches, as we can see in the books, in the scriptures. We pray that subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to guide us.
I think we have one more question. Princess MKO had a question, and then we'll go with Alhaji Ayola. Please, Princess MKO, your question, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Actually, I did not hear the question that Mami just asked now, but from Mom's answer, I got the question. Thank you.
Over to you, sir. Alhaji, sir, your question.
Okay.
Is ready, sir.
All right, that's fine. I don't want to shake the table, but let me. I know that the provisions and their religion. People, culture. Where is the window? And the reason I really don't want to shake the table, we have made progress in terms of rights of women in NASFAT as a leading organization, and I commend the progress that we have made. But I know that there's still a lot more that we can do when it comes to and some branches where we think we'll use the best of our resources, of our talent, irrespective of gender. We understand the leadership of chairman, but I think we have miles to cover. But let me come back and clarify my question, my search for knowledge. Imam, at what point does culture mix with religion? And then we take everything as religion.
Thank you very much, sir. One of the 5 legal maxims in Islamic jurisprudence is al-i'adatu mahakama, that culture also has a place in the jurisprudence of Islam. And there are so many things. The Sharia of Islam has been described as a dynamic one because it continues to accommodate new things. Particularly, new things continue to come up, new inventions, new discoveries continue to come up. And we look at it from the perspective of Islam, and we find that there are a lot of them that are okay with the religion of Islam. And that is the uniqueness of the Sharia of Islam. So if we say that in a country, their culture is against women being educated, then we have to question such a culture. If we say that in a country, in the same way that we question the culture of an aspect of the culture of a geographical location where the aspect that when a king dies, someone must be buried with him. The Ababakus. Or we look at the cultures that look at the Arab culture where we have the burial of female children alive, burying female children alive. It is part of their culture. It's not something that we can't find in other civilizations or culture. But Islam came and condemned it. So Islam is for any culture, any aspect of our culture that accommodates things that are natural, things that are good for the human being, and things that are not good for human beings are rejected. And that's why Sharia, as we have learned, and we are repeatedly reminded by our chief mission and protection. So this is the basic, the most basic thing in the Sharia of Islam. So anything that will not bring benefits for humanity is not Islam. And we are told repeatedly, we are told reminded by Chief Missioner that even if such a thing has been given references from the Quran or Hadith to back it up, or to back them up by their proponents, that thing can never, such things can never be Islam, because Islam teaches something that is in conformity with the nature of human. Allah created us, and He knows that what is good for us. So everything that Islam has taught us, that has commanded us to do, or that has asked us not to do, to abstain from, there are things that will be beneficial. It is because of our benefit. It's because of our own benefit and not otherwise. So I will not agree with such a culture that when we have the religion of Islam saying that women should be educated, women should own property, women can occupy some positions in authority and leadership positions, then you now say that culture. But again, we also need to explain that one of those things that we see is interpretations. Their understanding of some people, scriptural or doctrinal interpretation differences. But some people will take it so far, and because they are not being sincere. They are not being sincere. That is why we have such things happening in places where we say that the religion of Islam is there. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khairan, sir. This session, I must say, was very educating. It has been very educating. We thank Almighty Allah for an amazing session. May Allah continue to reward you, and may Allah continue to bless you in increase in knowledge. I mean, I would like to call on Chief Missioner in person of Al-Hajj Sheikh Imam Abdul Aziz Unike to give our closing remark as well as the closing dua and dua for our lecturers, audience who have stayed through with us throughout this session. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, sir.
Alhamdulillah, 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 Rabbil Alameen. I want to join the moderator in commending the lecturer, Imam Osman Animashan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you abundantly for the justice that you did to the topic. We had a very nice time listening to you. And then we also had other things to learn. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in beneficial knowledge. On behalf of the Chief Missioner, I want to appreciate you. I want to appreciate the moderator, dear sister, Sister Ghania Talaraba Lasise. I want to appreciate everybody who found time to be part of today's program, Dawah series. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has placed our feet on the path of these things since the beginning of Ramadan 1444. It has been one program after the other. Alhamdulillah. Our prayer is that Allah will accept all these programs from us as a society and as individuals. And when we come to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will be pleased with us. We thank everyone for finding time. I can see our president, I can see our NGS, everybody who is part of this call. May Allah bless us with better understanding and better knowledge of our deen. May Allah continue to use every one of us to promote His deen. Allahumma ameen. Our sister Sagani, you've done a very beautiful job, an amazing job, I must say that. May Allah continue to bless you. May He continue to preserve your life. Thank you very, very much. I want to pray for the program we have tomorrow. Our Laylatul Qadr comes up tomorrow, inshallah. We hope that everybody will be there. We pray that Allah will make it a successful event for us. And then whatever we do there tomorrow, Allah will accept it as an act of ibadah from us. Allah will also give every one of us the opportunity to actually witness Laylatul Qadr, and He will grant us the blessings that are embedded in the night. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Allahumma rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Allahumma rabbana zalamna anfusana وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوا على النبي الكريم.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakumullah khairan. So with this, we come to the end of today's segment. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah be pleased to everyone of us and accept it as an act of ibadah. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.